Welcome to the Legacy Conversation.
Welcome back to the Legacy Conversation with Jennifer Moore. Jennifer is the owner of Spring Legacy Law PLLC, where she helps individuals and families in Colorado create clear, practical estate plans and navigate probate with confidence. I'm Lisa Mosbey, and today we're talking about something that surprises a lot of parents. Whether a college-age child actually needs any kind of estate plan and what that might look like. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm well, and this kind of surprised me. So I imagine parents get surprised at this one all the time. What changes legally once a child turns 18 that the parents might not expect or even know about?
Sure. So, a lot of things change when a child becomes 18, and even before they're 18, if they're college students. So, all these decisions that mom and dad could automatically make for their children or be privy to go away. And if your child does not fill out particular documents granting access to their parents to this information, then mom and dad are out of the picture unless the child, who's now an adult, decides to share that information with them.
And why can't a parent automatically step in and make medical or financial decisions once their child is an adult?
Yeah, that's a great question, because once you turn 18, you're legally able to make decisions for yourself. And so all of that power that mom and dad once held, even if mom and dad are still paying for your lifestyle, they no longer have a say in. So, in order to even be called, if your child is admitted to the hospital, if they are over the age of 18, your child will have had to execute documents, that grant permission for you to even call the hospital and say, are they there? Are they okay? Things like that.
And that one surprised me, that even if you're paying for it, that doesn't automatically give you any rights. So what are the key documents to consider for someone who's 18 or in college?
Absolutely. So we'll start with my child is 18, but they're not a college student. They have just they turned 18, so they're allowed to do their own thing. What you will want to have them fill out is the HIPAA release, which is the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. So this is your child is in the hospital. You want to call and check up on them, or you want access to their protected medical records. This will grant you and anybody else listed on that release access to information regarding how they are, ability to speak to the doctor, ability to call and receive updates on how your child is doing. Another one is the medical power of attorney. So a medical power of attorney is I am alive, or the person is alive. For whatever reason, they're unable to make decisions for themselves. They are either so sick that they can't advocate for themselves, or they're incapacitated for one reason or another. And this names who you would want, or who your child would want to make decisions for you. Who your child would want to have make decisions for them because they're unable to. So mom and dad are no longer automatically who doctor is going to turn to and say, what can we do? Because the child can make decisions for themselves. So that medical power of attorney will grant mom and dad, or whoever else they want to name, as agents to make decisions for medical decisions. Similarly, there is a power of attorney for all other non-medical decisions. So this is called either a general durable power of attorney or a financial power of attorney. And again, if your child is unable to make decisions for themselves for whatever reason, this document will need to be in place if they're over the age of 18 to allow you to step in and pay bills for them or make any kind of decision other than a healthcare decision on their behalf. And then there's the advanced directive or living will, which is kind of something nobody wants to think about. But if your child is in a permanently vegetative state, two doctors have decided they're not going to come back. They're in a coma or they're injured so badly that life support is the only thing keeping them here. Your child will get to write down what they would want to have happen if, God forbid, they're ever in that position. So the beauty of a living will, if there is such a thing when you're in this scenario, is the decision maker is not stuck wondering, did I make the right decision? Is this what they would have wanted me to do? Because those directions are right in front of you. So you know what they would have wanted.
It happens so fast. 18 doesn't seem old enough to be making these decisions. When a child fills out these documents, do they expire or do they go? How long do they last?
That's a great question. So you will want to fill them out in the state where they are. So if your child is living in another state, you'll want to do powers of attorney under that state's laws. Healthcare powers of attorney kind of have a little bit longer of a lifespan. I would say 3 years or so. Financial powers of attorney, you probably want to think about executing a new one every single year. A lot of times financial institutions will kind of turn their nose up a little bit at something that was executed prior to a year before the time you're using it. And I should say, if your child is going to college, even if they're not 18 yet, there's another document that I didn't mention. And that is called a FERPA waiver, which is the Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That covers your students' medical records, some of their medical records, and all of their educational records. So they have to give you access to those records if they want you to have access to them. So that's another document that if your child is going to college, you may want to discuss with them. So,
What decisions can a healthcare directive cover in these situations with our child?
yeah, absolutely. So a healthcare directive is that situation where you're in a permanently vegetative state, whether or not life support should be continued. A medical power of attorney basically allows the person to step into your shoes to make all decisions with your doctors that you would usually make on your own behalf. So anything. Their hip was broken in a car accident. We really would like to move them to a skilled nursing facility for rehab or something like that. Then you can step in and say, yes, I agree. This is where they should go. Things like medication changes, you would be able to make those decisions along with the doctor's advice with a healthcare power of attorney. So it just covers every healthcare decision broadly. Even for females, there's clauses where you can say any decisions about pregnancy, either will be affected or won't be affected due to, whether or not my daughter is pregnant. So it's just really very vast grant of rights to make decisions on your behalf. So
it's a big decision. You have to decide, this isn't something maybe you want a friend from college to be doing for you. It's somebody who knows you, knows what it is that you want. And it brings me to the next one, which is what authority does the financial power of attorney give a parent or a trusted person? And how important of a decision is this? We know this is like all your money can be under somebody else's control. Talk to us about that and making that decision.
yeah, so that's a really great point that you make. It does not only give access to banks and all of your financial accounts, but social media, email, things like that I think
Mm.
have a lot of importance to people that are maybe of college age. And it just, again, allows whoever you give that power to step into your shoes and make all decisions for you, take the reins, make banking decisions for you, handle social media accounts if they need to be closed, or if you're somebody that has developed some kind of a following, they can manage that for you while you're incapacitated. Um, And they can handle, like if mom and dad, somebody passes away and you inherit part of the estate while you are incapacitated, that person that you've named will kind of accept those funds on your behalf and just kind of make all the decisions you would be able to make on your own if you were able to. So.
And again, Jennifer, you mentioned it multiple times that when you're incapacitated, these do not kick in until that college student would be incapacitated. Or are there other instances where they may go into effect? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So it's actually an option you get to make. So you can say, for my parents, they can have authority right now. But if it comes to my backup decision because mom and dad aren't available, mom or dad, whoever, and my sibling is my backup person, they only get to step in if I'm incapacitated. So there's kind of a gradient of people that maybe mom and dad share a bank account with you. They're paying off your credit card for you while you're in college. They need to be able to have access right away. But maybe as you kind of go down the line, if you're all in a car accident together or something horrible like that, and it needs to be a choice other than your parents, you probably don't want to grant them access right away. You want to wait till something has happened, and then they can step into decision maker shoes. So.
That makes a lot of sense. And then how do privacy laws affect what parents can access once their child is legally an adult?
Right. So, they really can't access anything unless they're granted permission to access those records. So, like I said, under FERPA, some health records are even covered by FERPA, and certainly grade records and things like that. Maybe you trust your child. You should trust your child if they're in college and, they're young adults, they're working for their grades. So maybe you don't need to be granted access to their grades, but they are covered and you won't automatically have access to them. And as somebody who did poorly in college, I wish I would have known my parents didn't automatically have access because I had a couple rough semesters there. But you definitely don't get access unless it's granted.
Yeah, I know in our family we had to tell what our grades were if we wanted reimbursement because we were allowed reimbursement so many dollars per credit, but your grade had to be above a C in order to do that. So you had to disclose your grades. But there are case by case scenarios that change these rules, I'm sure. What problems can come up if none of these documents are in place?
God forbid something horrible happens while you're in college. You're, making bad decisions as college students sometimes do, or maybe you're not making bad decisions and just an accident happens. Mom and dad won't necessarily be contacted, if you're in a car accident or any of the other things that can happen in college. You drink too much or you're flunking out and, struggling with depression, things like that. Your parents won't automatically know. And I think as a parent to young children, it's really important to have your support system around. So I think that aside from mom and dad being able to step in and make decisions for their children, if their kids are unable to make them for themselves, it's nice to just know that that support network will be contacted if you're in a situation where you need your support network there because something has happened.
And Jennifer, in what situations do parents need to decipher this with their children? Like they just need basic documents, or they may need something more complicated if they have a trust from their grandparents or something. How do you know what documents you need, and how do you decipher all of that to figure it out?
So I think that a good I've turned 18 or I'm going to college package is a healthcare power of attorney, a general power of attorney, a living will, the medical records release documents, and if they're going to college, that FERPA release. An additional one maybe would be a will. If your child has a lot of assets, maybe they were an entrepreneur when they were younger. You hear about it happening sometimes to where your child will get to pick who gets what if something happens to them while they're in college, which again, you don't really want to think about, but it does happen sometimes. So I think most certainly powers of attorney, living will, and HIPAA release you would want to have. If the child is going to college, you will want to discuss the FERPA waiver with them. Again, all of these are your child's decision, so you can't make that decision anymore for them, but at least you'll have the opportunity to if they need you to.
Makes complete sense. Yeah, I want to tie this episode up for folks who might be listening. Can you walk us through a real life example where a family ran into issues because these documents were not in place?
Yeah, happily, nothing that I've experienced with any of my clients or anybody that I've known. But a story I became aware of was mom and dad are empty nesters and they're on vacation in the middle of nowhere in an RV. And they received notification from the hospital. Well, I don't think I'm answering your question because they did have documents in place happily, but you can easily imagine if they did not, what they would come home to. But they were in the middle of nowhere camping, and they get a phone call from the hospital saying that their daughter, who just 2 weeks ago was super excited, new co-ed freshman at State University, had been in a horrible car accident and was paralyzed. So because they had these documents in place, college called and said, your daughter's been in this terrible accident. She's paralyzed. We need you to come home immediately. So they were able to race home to be with her and support her and help make decisions. Whereas if they had not had those documents, they may have continued their vacation for weeks or a month or, celebrating this newfound freedom of thinking your kid is fine, they're at college, everything's taken care of, and then come home to find out, oh my God, or logging into Facebook or something like that and seeing, oh my God, our daughter's in the hospital and has been for a week, and we don't know because there weren't these documents in place for us to find out. So I think that
It does happen.
it's worst case scenario, but I believe in, planning for the worst and hoping that you never need those plans to take effect. So
That's it for today's episode of The Legacy Conversation with Jennifer Moore. If you're in Colorado and have a child heading off to college or recently turned 18 and want to make sure the right documents are all in place, you can learn more and reach out to springslawpllc.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to leave a review, and share this episode with someone who may need it. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.